So there have been a lot of words said about the Emergencies Act, which I wanted to wait until I saw how it was used before I decided what I should say. So what I saw was that most of the arguments against it seemed to focus on these three things, so I will talk about these three things. Number one, this isn't an emergency. Well, is it an emergency? We can disagree on the definition of the word, but the city has declared a state of emergency, the province has declared a state of emergency, and there can be no doubt that the convoy cannot be allowed to continue. This isn't about lifting mandates. The provinces have been lifting mandates as only the provinces and not the federal government can, and the convoy has stayed. This isn't about rights. Not being able to go to a store without a vaccine card isn't making groceries inaccessible when you can get them delivered to you. And this is not about workers. People who have harassed employees until multiple businesses have closed are not defending the working class. They're scaring us and making our lives harder. The convoy's goal, stated from the beginning, has been to overthrow the elected government and put themselves in charge. If we are to continue living under a representative democracy, they must be stopped. The right to protest is guaranteed in our Constitution. It is a right to communicate grievances in a public space, not a right to impose their will on the public by force. We've seen anti-mandate and anti-vaccine demonstrations of this right in Toronto and Vancouver. Several hundred people assembled, marched with signs and flags and banners and delivered their message, and then they went home. I disagree with their message, but what they did was perfectly legal. What's happening on the streets of Ottawa and has been happening at multiple border crossings is an entirely different story. Those aren't protests. They're hostage situations, and as such, they're not protected under our laws. Rather, they're a threat to the law and to democracy itself. You can argue that they're not violent only if you don't understand that a tiny minority can only impose their will upon a large, law-abiding majority by force. At the point of almost 4 weeks in Ottawa, there's nothing left to talk about. Either the law needs to make people get out of the way, or we no longer live under the law, but by the whim of a handful of people with very little support of the actual people who live in this country. The Prime Minister's suggestion of freezing bank accounts definitely seems like a better alternative than tear gas, especially because children are involved. People no one elected, not me, not you, not anyone, don't get to decide which borders can conduct trade, or which bridges can be crossed, or which streets can be open. Number two, freezing people's bank accounts is tyranny. As far as saying that freezing bank accounts is overreach, 8 of Canada's 10 provinces have civil forfeiture laws that let them seize not just finances, but property. I've linked to the law in the description. You only need suspicion that the property is being used to commit a crime. You don't need to convict or even charge anyone with a crime to seize it. This law applies to both provincial crimes like the violent protests and the federal crimes like at the border, and it was upheld in Ontario in 2009. I think only Prince Edward Island and Newfoundland don't have it. The fact is, this freedom convoy has been declared an illegal occupation. The fundraiser, therefore, is supporting an illegal occupation, and we've always been able to use the law to go after those who pay others to conduct criminal activity. This includes seizing and freezing financial assets. You know, if you hired a hitman to shoot someone, you may not have pulled the trigger yourself, but you're still criminally liable for that person's injuries or death. Any bank account you used can be frozen, any funds you used can be seized, and this is just how the law is enforced. Honestly, now could be a good time to finally regulate or squash crypto. Like, seriously, fuck crypto, but that's beside the point. Number 3, the federal government should try something else first. Well, if you disagree with the Emergencies Act being used in the first place, I ask you, what are the options? Ottawa and Ontario's mayor and police have failed to protect their constituents for weeks. The city declared a state of emergency, as I've said previously, and Parliament was left with the option of not responding and letting the occupation continue, or using the Emergencies Act. And you know what? I do think it's unfortunate that we need to use such a heavy tool. What we needed was for the city, the police, and the province to do their fucking jobs in the first place. Because yes, we do have other laws that could have been used to deal with these terrorists. But the people with the power to enforce the laws we have been derelict in their duties. And someone has to do something. The only further up we can appeal to is the federal government. This is, if anything, less than the least they can do. Honestly, I'd be okay with the military being sent in, but I agree that that would be bad optics, and I understand that some people have neglectfully brought their children, so I'll accept that on track is the best we've got. And to everybody, especially Birkin, who want Trudeau to talk to people who hang effigies of him and call for him to be executed, what the hell is wrong with you? Candace, you have talked to them. You have taken selfies with them. You're the official opposition, and they have told you they're not leaving. For the OPP and the OPS have abdicated their responsibilities. There's been a conspiracy to kill our CMP officers. People waving swastikas and Confederate flags have committed hate crimes, and you have the gall to say we're not in an emergency? Like, yes? I'm sorry for my rudeness. You know what? Forget the swastikas. I have an emotional attachment to those symbols, so forget Confederate flags. You know, maybe some Canadians are just too stupid to know what they mean. You've still got them gathering in a convoy organized by white supremacists. But who knows? Arrests are finally being made, so maybe this won't reach a fourth weekend after all. The border blockades have mostly disassembled just from the threat of the Emergencies Act. And you know what? I want to be optimistic, so I will be. Just watch me.